And a good evening. Let's go. College basketball catch-up show. John Brace, Ryan Beef Coyle coming to you via the Gambler stream. Talking all things college hoops. The madness is upon us. I'm rocking a cowboy hat. Go A&M Aggies. Take down number 1 overall Auburn. We'll talk a little bit about that. Of course, plenty to discuss. Beef, how you been?
March is here, baby. It feels good. We said last week we kind of got the little hint, the little appetizer at it. And Saturday was a hell of a day. Tennessee buzzer beater. A lot to talk about. Conference tournaments are in swing. Atlantic Sun Belt, getting some wagering done on some of these mid-major, low-majors conferences. It feels good to be back.
Yeah, we do. We do have conference tournament action happening. Of course, final game for a lot of teams, regular season. Villanova this evening, tonight's final game, then the Big East tournament coming up here. It's exciting. Of course, we all know the madness is right around the corner, but conference tournament week is a lot of fun as well. Hopefully, we get a lot of upsets. It'll make our jobs a little bit more interesting, but we'll see, because these big time conferences are going to be locked and loaded, delivering. I saw Big Ten could be potentially putting 11 teams in. The SEC is going to be potentially putting 13 teams in. So I don't know what that's going to do to conference tournament play. I think we're going to have to go through it once and then see if there is something because I just don't know if teams are going to be, look, they're not going to go into it trying to lose. I'm not sitting here saying that, but I don't know if a team like Auburn would be heartbroken if they don't pull off the SEC championship. You know what I mean? I think it might be in they're better off to again, they're not going to lose on purpose. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying. But a team like Auburn, they are good enough to win it all, have been the best team all season. If they get a little bit of a breather before the real madness kicks in, I think they'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I've said that in the past in regards to like the Big 12 tournament with like a team like Kansas. Is like, all right, Kansas has shown their dominance throughout the regular season, how good that they could be. Would they mind losing in the quarterfinals and getting some extra rest before the actual tournament? I don't really think so. The thing I would kind of push back on, though, if for Auburn's case, like Auburn has the chance to go down as like a top 5 college basketball team of all time this year. If they run through, win the SEC regular season, win the SEC tournament, and then go win the NCAA tournament, finish the year with 2 losses, the most quad 1 wins ever since that's been recorded, and win arguably the toughest conference that we've ever seen from top to bottom in the regular season and the postseason, that could be one of the more historic seasons ever. So I certainly think they're going to take a push for it, but also at the same time, it's not do or die in a lot of these situations. It's going to be nice to hold up a trophy, but a lot of these teams I think wouldn't mind the extra day of rest, wouldn't mind the extra days kind of off their feet as they're not going through the rest of that gauntlet of the SEC tournament.
You also forgot the Maui Invitational champions.
Yeah, Maui as well. I mean, they 4 big ones kind of, and own a bunch of great wins as well. Like they beat Houston earlier in the year on a neutral too. You look at the resume top to bottom and the way that they've dominated games as well, like going to Kentucky this past weekend, winning for the first time, I think I saw since 1986, and to do it by double-digit points, like just a historic season for Auburn. And, you can get all 3 of those championships. That's a big accomplishment for sure, and throw the Maui in there as well.
No, you're right about that. All right. As far as where we stand right here, the title of this fine program that we put out on social media, Blue Devils or Blue Ghosts? You like that? Duke hoops somehow flying under the radar. Now, before people get all bent out of shape on that one, I do believe deep down inside that they're not getting enough attention. Are they under the radar? No, but they are not getting enough attention. And I just bring this up. I talked about this earlier today, Beef, where if you look at a comparison to go league to league, Duke Blue Devils are the Yankees to MLB, are the Lakers to the NBA, the Dallas Cowboys to the NFL. And when these teams are good, everything just stops. And I haven't got the feeling for Duke this year. This is an incredible team. Auburn is awesome. Duke, for my money, right there with them as far as the athleticism, the talent, the positions that they all play, of course, led by the best basketball player in the game, Cooper Flagg. I just think that Duke should be getting a little bit more of a bump when it comes to national championship, when it just comes to bringing more eyeballs to the damn sport. Let's just start and end there. Like, this is, here's what I would say. I think Zion's team got 10 times the attention that this team is getting right now. Zion's team deserved it as well, but this one deserves a little bit more of a bump. Do you agree?
Yeah, I was listening to you earlier when you were talking about that, and I couldn't agree more. And I think I even tweeted it out, like maybe it was over the summer or in the early fall. I was like, I think this team was going to rival the Zion team in terms of excitement and just publicity. And I 100% agree with you that the overall hype and the overall publicity just has not been there for this Duke team. I think it largely has to do with their games and literally everyone being a blowout. You can contribute to that too. Like, well, why wouldn't people want to watch them be, as good as they are, dominate? You look back, the last time that they played a ranked team on their schedule, and I know that they had a few like potential ranked games coming up with like Illinois, North Carolina at one point. The last time they played a ranked team was Auburn, the Auburn game, which they wound up winning. That was at Cameron Indoor, but that was back in like December. Like, I remember watching that in my parents' basement when I still lived at home. That's how long ago that was. And I've been out of there for almost a little over 2 months now. And that's how long ago that was. So they haven't really played anyone, but whoever they have played, they've been dominating. So I think that kind of goes hand in hand there, but it is pretty wild considering Cooper Flag is considered, generational type of prospect as well. The team might not have the exact glitz and glamour, the excitement of the Zion teams, because that was Zion, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish, 3, top 5 recruits in that class. So maybe not the overall hype and excitement of them, but I do think this is a better team and a team more equipped to go win the national title, especially in the season.
Yeah, look, I've listed the reasons why they're not getting some of the attention, and it starts and ends with the conference. It's really down across the board, and the one team that is significant or a little bit of a challenge did beat them in Clemson. Other than that, I think that is working against them. They are lumping these teams up, though, and that's where I just got to say, like, man, they're making it really easy from the betting perspective. You don't second guess. Like, 19-point spread yesterday. Didn't think twice about that game. And they ended up winning by 33. And, oh, by the way, it's what they've done for the last 4 or 5 games out, beating up and taking out the opponents that don't belong on the floor, which is going to come in use in about 2 weeks, Beef, because I feel like that they have the mentality, they have the Jets, and they're going to cruise straight to an Elite Eight. And we'll see what happens from there. And it's so funny because they're the second favorite here. So I'm not saying anything. They're going to be the number 2 overall 1 seed in the tournament. So I'm not saying anything that is shocking, but like I said, man, I understand the conference is down, but when it comes to Duke and packing that punch just for eyeballs on the sport and beating up on opponents, you got some highlight plays. It just feels like they should be talked about more, leading Sports Center off more, just a little bit more attention at this point in time. Again, we'll see. A lot of people are saying, hey, look, Auburn is the real deal. Auburn deserves the eyeballs that Duke's getting right now. I think Duke is right there with them. With that being said, Auburn is in action this evening. I feel like there could be an upset. Now, is it more along the lines of I'm hopeful? Of course. But I do believe that Texas A&M home court, tough place to go in and play. Auburn battle tested, coming off one of their worst outings. They still ended up winning by 30. It was ridiculous. I just felt like this was the spot to take a shot on it, live dangerously. Opened up, nice start, 14-8 advantage for Texas A&M. We are a couple minutes into the first half. But Beef, your thoughts on the game itself? Were the A&M live dogs in your mind?
I still wound up taking Auburn. I took them at 5.5 this morning. I wound up getting them 3.5 a little bit right before tip off. But it is a scenario where it's like, all right, you look at Auburn, they already have everything locked up. They're the SEC champion outright after Alabama lost on Saturday to Tennessee. They're going to be a number 1 seed. They're going to be the number 1 seed, obviously, in the SEC tournament. So they don't really have as much motivation to play for, unless it kind of goes back to what I was saying at the beginning, where they're playing for history, like to be one of the historic teams, one of the great teams. And if you are a team that is a historic team, great team with that mindset, it's not like you don't push this game off like, oh, we already won it, like we're good. Like, no, we're going to go out there and continue to kick some ass like we've been doing all season. So I think that's kind of the mindset for Auburn. But you look at A&M, like I was a big proponent of them at the beginning of the season. They've been on a downhill slide. Four straight losses. Kind of a, I'm not going to say it's a must win, because if they lose this game, it's not like they're not going to the tournament. But you want to get some momentum back on your side going into March. They have LSU on Saturday. That should be a win. LSU, one of, if not the worst team in the SEC. You can debate them with South Carolina, but A&M, I think they need some, motivation going into and momentum going into the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament. So, a big spot for them there. Obviously, a chance to take down number one. You don't get that in your building every single day. So certainly see where your mindset is and the circumstances. But it's just like, this is an Auburn team that has looked unstoppable at times. And, I'm not going to get afraid by a trip to Texas A&M. I'll take them 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, whatever you got the number at.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the conference tournaments that are currently in progress. But I do want to hit on some bigger picture stuff, because, again, in 1 week, these numbers are going to be sliced in half, if not more, for a lot of these teams as far as futures are concerned. So there's no better time than right now in the final week of the regular season. And even then, so maybe the value is gone on a lot of these teams. But if I was to ask you down the board, if I was to remove some of the top name teams from Duke, Auburn, Houston, let's get rid of Florida, who's great ATS this year, Tennessee just with the huge victory over Alabama. Where are we at right now? Let's go 25 and below, 25-1 and below. We'll start with St. John's. You go Michigan State at 28, Missouri, A&M, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Texas Tech, Arizona, Maryland. Is there a team out of that bunch that you feel like should be worthwhile? And if somebody wanted to take a little bit of a flyer on a bigger number here, which one would you recommend?
I'm not going to go to bat for any team to win the national title exactly, but if you do want to take a long shot, it's one that I put in yesterday, actually, with Texas Tech to go to the Final Four at plus 650. It looks like they're 40-1 right now to win the title, but they're a damn good squad. Another team battle tested in the Big 12. The only team since November, I believe it was, to beat Houston, and they did that at Houston as well. They just went to Fog Allen Fieldhouse, and we've talked about many times how this is a fraudulent Kansas team, a Kansas team that isn't probably going to do much damage in the tournament, if any damage, but still nobody goes there ever and wins. They find a way to go into that environment. A very, very battle-tested team. Kind of funny at the beginning of the year, they lost to St. Joe's, who has been a bit of a disappointment in the Atlantic 10, according to what their standards were going into the year. But Texas Tech is a really good squad. Grant McCasland, I think, is one of the more underrated coaches in the country. Being at Texas Tech, I could see him being a guy that gets looked at for the Texas job as well, if that opens up with Rodney Terry. But this is a Texas Tech team. Go with your hat that you got on. It kind of matches there. Plus 650 to make the Final Four. I think they're a team that's
Beef. Beef. Right now, so like with the stream, so he's frozen, and I could go, like, I could talk to him, like, hey, Beef, the things that are hitting me these days, I gotta ask, is it me? Oh, we lost him. Well, we'll figure that out. The internet connection from hell down there at Hector. Them boys got to pay that cable bill. People might wonder what the hell I'm wearing a cowboy hat for. You like this? Amazon. Amazon is incredible. Like, you can order a cowboy hat for $10 to your house and have it like literally overnight. We have country night coming up at the Wings at the end of the month. So I bought myself a cowboy hat. Let's see it. It's coming back on. We got the Wheel of Death here. Well, now you make me edit. Now I got to edit. Now I got to work. Oh, my Lord. Yeah. I feel like you can rock a cowboy hat with these, right? Like, and a cowboy hat's good if you want to catch a snooze, right? You can't tell, right? Can't tell I'm sleeping. Amazon, incredible.
Said StreamYard went off.
Yeah, that's your connection, not mine. Pay your bill.
My bad.
You're so delayed. It's like, yo, you got. I think what we got to do, we got to suck it up. We're 2 blocks away. We got to start. You got to come over here.
Do you want me to come down now?
No. No,
right.
but for future, I think, and especially for the next 3 weeks until we crown a champion. Like, I built the studio. Like, I'll hook it up. We got the couch, boom, pull up a chair. We got the 2 jumbotrons going. I got a cold beer over here. Bring McClay.
Sounds good.
Plus, I got some furniture I got to move.
Does it say it's still live?
Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I got to edit.
I don't know why
now
it's
you got
doing that.
now you got me working.
My bad.
All right, let's. No, it's all good. Let's pick it up. Let's move off of that one. You were finishing on what? Texas? What were you saying? Texas Tech? Oh, Final Four.
Yeah, Texas Tech plus 650 to make the Final Four.
All right, let's move off of that. Yeah, give me a good answer on that one. It got cut off midstream, but that's all right. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, next question I got for you, and then we'll look at some of the futures here. The other number 1 seed, where are you at with this one? What should we be on the lookout for? It felt like if Bama was able to win on the road in Tennessee, that they were going to get the other number 1 seed. I think Houston, Duke, and of course Auburn are locked in at the 3s. That's the other 3 number 1 spots. The 4th one up for grabs. Who's in play here in your mind?
Yeah, I think Michigan State's still getting floated in there, but I do think it's going to, at the end of the day, come down to one of those 3 SEC schools with Alabama, with Tennessee, and then with Florida. I think it could have a lot to do with who does damage in the SEC tournament. Like if one of Alabama, Tennessee, or Florida goes on a run there to win the SEC tournament, I think that they might have the upper hand. Alabama and Florida, I believe, actually play tomorrow night on Wednesday night. So that one could have a lot to say with that as well. Whoever wins that game, and then there's games Saturday, obviously, as well to end up the weekend. But I think it's in play there for those 3 teams. I feel like you have to reward one of those SEC teams with that 4th over a team like a Michigan State who's played still have been playing decently amount of ranked teams, but not through the gauntlet of these SEC schools, which has been basically every single night's been like a quad 1 or quad 2 game.
Yeah, Michigan State deserves a ton of credit going on the road and beating Maryland the way that they did, regardless. Doesn't matter. Still goes up as a win. And then beating Wisconsin, who was number 11 in the country. So they are playing really well. The one concern I have about Michigan State is, and I know defense plays and don't doubt Izzo in March and all that, but if Michigan State was to face off against Alabama, which way are you going? Because Alabama can go out there and drop 100. Yeah. Can Michigan State do enough on the defensive end to slow them down?
That's my exact take on Alabama and Michigan State. It's like Alabama, they're going to run into a team that Alabama is still going to dictate the pace of play. Like even this past weekend against Tennessee, the score was still 79-78 or whatever the final was. Like it still was in favor of Alabama's pace. Tennessee just was making some shots. Michigan State, I don't think that they can play at that level. Like Michigan State, my stat for going into that the Wisconsin game this weekend, 8-0 when they hold teams under 60 points. Like that's their goal. Keep it in that rock fight type range. Maybe if it gets into the 65s, low 70s, they could still win. But if you're going to make them go out there and go shot for you, that's where they're going to struggle at the end of the day. Jace Richardson has been awesome over the past month. They've been looking a little bit better as some shooters, but it's not that they can't make shots. It's like they just don't take them. They take like 12 to 15 threes per game. And in today's college basketball, that's just going to be a dying strategy at the end. Like Texas Tech this weekend at Kansas shot 41 3-pointers. Like they're just playing like a completely different sport at sometimes in Michigan State.
All right. Yeah, look, I think there are a lot of teams out there that can do some damage, especially on the offensive side. We'll see. Michigan State, I'm not going to doubt them because of all the reasons we said. But at this point in time where we have to rank and judge and go by vibes and feels at this point, we'll see. I do want to bring up something that did break in the A&M game. Broome left the game due to a shoulder injury, tweaked it. Seems like he's going to be okay, but I don't think he's going to return. So that's a big blow. Although Auburn is so deep and didn't get anything from him last weekend, and essentially they ended up winning by 25+ points. So who knows?
Yeah, and he's missed a couple games as well. That's something that while they've been talking for the National Player of the Year race, that's been one of the points of discussion. It's like take Johni Broome off of Auburn, how good is Auburn? So take Cooper Flagg off of Duke, how good is Duke still? If that could kind of sway your vote as well.
That award was crazy because from where we were at, in the swing of it, and I always felt like the number was never right. I didn't feel like Cooper Flagg needed to be a slam dunk as much as he was a few weeks ago. And then I didn't feel like that he should have been favored even like 2 weeks ago that the number he was, even though it was relatively a little bit less. And then it flipped over and it went it steamed way too much in favor of Broome. And here we are now, snap of the fingers. Flagg has 28 points, another blowout. Broome plays poorly, and people are trying to go the other way. It's just crazy to have been paying attention to the movement as far as that award is concerned.
Yeah, last night was, I've obviously watched Duke throughout the season, but last night was like the actual first time I sat down, watched the tip-off till the completion of the game. And it's just like, even in a blowout like that, you see every single possession how much Cooper Flagg impacts the game. Rebounding, passing, scoring. They double team him in the paint. He makes the right pass. Like, he's just such a great overall basketball player. He doesn't have like that one like super special trait, I think, that I look at. Obviously, he's like a super athlete. That might be something that you could point to, but just like as an overall basketball player, for a kid that's supposed to be still a senior in high school, for have such an advanced and mature game at this stage is pretty insane to me. I would probably lean towards him for player of the year if I had to make a pick or a vote.
I totally agree with you there. All right, Beef, talk to me a little bit about what the conference tournament schedule is looking like. Again, we have to wait until essentially Saturday, March 15th for the ACC to get going. The American East, Sunday for American, ASUN, all that gets going this week, or the 15th, excuse me. So we got some time until we get there. Actually, I apologize. I got my dates wrong here in front of me. Those are the championship game dates. ACC starts on the 11th. American
I'll send
East,
you this
11th.
handy schedule.
Yeah,
this schedule from Heat Check College Basketball on Twitter. They have the whole thing laid out, like every single day that there's games. So as of right now, on Tuesday night, we've had Atlantic Sun, Sunbelt, Horizon, Patriot League have all played thus far. Tomorrow, we get a handful of tournaments starting up. We don't get games during the day, I believe, until Thursday, but Thursday at like noon, you should get some games on your TV. At 1 o'clock is when the Missouri Valley starts on Thursday afternoon. So you'll get games throughout the day then, but this week is a lot of the mid-major conference, low major conferences still, as we still have regular season games for some of those high majors. But like the Missouri Valley, that's a really fun conference tournament all the time. Northern Iowa, Drake, Bradley, those are kind of your big players there. The Ohio Valley Conference, that'll be your first ticket actually punched on Saturday night. That is post Duke, North Carolina. So that'll be the first official ticket punch to the tournament. The Atlantic Sun, you got your championship for that on Sunday. The Big South, you got your championship for that on Sunday. Arch Madness as well, Missouri Valley, you have that on Sunday too. So you got a bunch of tickets going to be punched by the end of this weekend. We'll start to see, teams fill out that field of 68. So a really excited weekend coming up, and then next week you kind of hit this full steam ahead on Tuesday is when the big boys start playing their conference tournaments. You got the Big 12 starting on Tuesday, and then Wednesday you go to the Big East. ACC is on Tuesday as well. So wall-to-wall college basketball. I think it would be cool if we even did it, like you were saying, like meet up and watch the games and do like a live stream or something throughout the day for some of those.
Yeah, we need to, because there's a lot of action coming down our way, and still a lot of games to be played. We got a lot of games in progress at this point in time. Again, college basketball catch-up show. We will be, of course, recapping it all this week on the Gambler Daily Ticket, 3 to 6 p.m. Before we get out of here, though, as far as what you have your eyes on down the last week of the regular season, where were you looking right now, Beef?
I think one of the big questions is one of the ones you kind of already asked with the who is going to get that final 1 seed, but also with the bubble. Like this is it's a statement that is said a lot this year, but it's a weak bubble, but still they got to put the teams in the field. Teams like Arkansas, teams like Georgia, teams like Texas, Ohio State, Nebraska, Xavier. Who's going to win these last couple games to give them some momentum heading into conference tournament week and push them into the tournament? Does a team like Texas A&M, who was in the top 10 just a couple weeks ago and now has lost 4 in a row, can they figure it out? I kind of want to see over these next few nights who's looking their best heading into conference tournament. I think you could look at teams like St. John's, like the momentum that they've had recently has been awesome. A team like Vanderbilt that I'm really high on, they've won back-to-back big games on the weekend, the past 2 weekends. Pretty big wagers from me, so I'm a big Vanderbilt fan from here on out. But teams like those, like some teams are playing for their season. Do these teams want to go to the tournament, or some of these teams kind of ready to mail it in? I think you can kind of tell that just by watching the body language of some of these squads going forward on the rest of the weekend and into conference tournament play.
Excellent stuff, Beef. Can't wait. We'll be all over it on the Gambler, and great breakdowns across the board. Still plenty of action to go here this week before we really dive into some of the conference tournament names and games, and of course seeding, which is really important, path, all that. But the wagers that we will be looking at as far as the tournament, once we get the bracket in front of us, it's going to be a lot of fun to break down as well. Beef, always a pleasure, sir. Make sure everyone, if you missed anything, at foxphlgambler.com. We'll be back later this week because it's now time to shine for all things college basketball.